If you want to learn how to check your PowerShell version currently running on your Windows PC, then this video will show you how, step by step. You can choose between two methods, depending on how much extra details do you want. Let's start with the most used one, and that's $PSVersionTable. Here we are on my Windows 11 Pro. Click on your Start button and search for PowerShell. Open Windows PowerShell. No need to run it as administrator. Type $PSVersionTable and press Enter. You can find your info under PS version. The version of this PowerShell I'm running is 5.1. The numbers next to it, 26100 and 4768, are build and revision numbers of this PowerShell and also this Windows version. Because Windows PowerShell is built into Windows, and in most cases it shares build and revision number with the operating system itself. But if someone asks you what PowerShell version you're using, just say 5.1. That's for the PowerShell version, but let's also briefly explain what other parts of the output means. PS Edition, desktop, means that we are running traditional Windows PowerShell that ships with Windows, not newer cross-platform versions like PowerShell 7. Next, we can take a look at PS compatible versions. This lists PowerShell versions which your current version can run scripts from. You can see 3 dots at the end, so if you want to see a full list of them, just run the command $PSVersionTable .PS compatible versions pipe symbol FL. The next is build version. This is a build version of the underlying Windows operating system. Like we mentioned before, it's the same as PowerShell itself. Next, we have something called CLR version, that stands for Common Language Runtime version. It's .NET Framework version, on top of which PowerShell runs. Then there is something called WS-Man Stack version 3.0. This is WS Management Stack version for PowerShell remoting. It handles remote PowerShell connections. Then we have PS Remoting Protocol version 2.3. This is version of PowerShell remoting protocol for connecting to other computers via PowerShell. Next is serialization version. This is the version of object serialization used when sending data between PowerShell sessions. In this case, object serialization means that when PowerShell sends data between sessions, like remoting, it needs to convert complex objects into transportable format. Alright, another method you can use is the get-host command. Just type get-host and press Enter. Now the information we need here is under version, and it has the same value as before. Beside the version number, we have also the name. The name is the name of the application running PowerShell. Currently, it is console host, standard PowerShell console. So this name will tell you which application is currently running your PowerShell. When we were searching for PowerShell in Start menu, maybe you saw some other PowerShell apps, like PowerShell ISE, which stands for Integrated Scripting Environment. Now, if we open ISE and run commandlet get-host, under name in the output will be Windows PowerShell ISE host. Next, we have instance ID. It's a unique identifier for this current session, and it's used by PowerShell to internally track different sessions. It basically changes every time we close the session, aka close PowerShell app. Next, this is just a user interface system PowerShell is using. Technical class name for console-based interaction. We can also see our OS regional language settings. These settings can affect date formats, number formats, and for example sorting we use in our scripts. Next we have private data. Private data stands for internal data used by the console host. It handles console colors, formatting, and display properties. Then we have debugger enabled, set to true. This is a PowerShell built-in debugger. Then we have is run space pushed, set to false. Is run space pushed means that no nested run space is currently active. It is related to advanced PowerShell session management. Then we have the run space. It's our execution environment type. Local run space means we are running PowerShell locally, not remotely. That's it. If you need to check your PowerShell version, use either of these two methods. Choose based on what additional information you want to see alongside the version number. In the next video, we'll dive into the difference between PowerShell versions, because I can see a lot of confusion out there. Many people don't realize there is a big difference between Windows PowerShell and PowerShell Core or PowerShell, and that difference is significant. For future explanations, stay tuned, and like and subscribe would be much appreciated. See ya!